And welcome. This is February 17th, 2026. This is a committee of the whole meeting. Our subject this evening is ordinance number 37-2026, federal immigration enforcement. It is 6 p.m. We're always thrilled when we see a full room. It says that our community is engaged and interested in the work we are doing. It is a privilege to have you here. I hope that you will all listen with open ears and open hearts as we move through the process this evening. Yeah. Turn the volume up at all. I'll try and speak a little bit louder. There are microphones, and this is the first time we've heard that there's a problem with hearing, so we'll see what we can do. For the record, I need to indicate who's present this evening. Myself, Mary Westfall, other council members, Marcus Hanson, Doug Hanum, Brian McCann, Lindsay Stow, Patrick Richardson, and Sean Murphy. Also present with us are Mayor Fry, and from Administration Law Director Mrs. Brining, Chief of Police Danny Miller, Captain Hugh Baker, Service Director Joe Shaw, Finance Director Toby Schroyer, and Clerk of Council Mrs. Smith. And again, a full house, so we're grateful for that. This ordinance that we're reviewing this evening was prepared by Mr. Hanum, and it was referred to this committee of the whole at our last meeting. The goal tonight is for our council members to acquire a better understanding of this ordinance, and as well as to look at our existing policies to see where we have currently addressed these issues in our police policies. Please note that this is a committee meeting of council. It is a time when council members are to discuss and evaluate and determine next steps. Technically, there is no requirement for public comment. However, with that being said, please note that if we have time at the end of this meeting, we will invite public comment from residents of the city of Sylvania. The process this evening will include beginning with our Chief of Police, who will share with us some information about our current policies, most of which fall very closely in line with this ordinance. And then followed by our law director, who will speak about any legal concerns around that. And from that point, our city council members will be invited to ask questions of our administrative staff and to discuss among themselves the things that they may have questions on. After that, we will invite our administrative team members if they've got any questions that need addressed. And from there, we would open it up to public comment. So I hope that's clear for everyone, and I invite you to all sit back and relax while we begin this journey together. With that said, I will invite our Chief of Police, Chief Miller, to step up and to begin her comments regarding our current police policies and how they compare to this proposed legislation.
Good evening, members. What I want to go over is we did send out a memo earlier today. It was a memo that was made by the Director of Law, Leslie Brining, and myself. What you saw was a comparison between the ordinance that's being presented and the policies that we have in place in the police department, as well as any policies that are in place with the city of Sylvania. So what I want to kind of start with is how did we get these policies in the police department? This is nothing that I sat down one night and just wrote because we needed a policy on immigration or any of these policies. These are vetted policies. We belong to the Ohio Collaborative Law Enforcement Agency certification, which is known as OCLEAC. This is through the state of Ohio. This establishes and maintains professional standards for the law enforcement community. These are developed by an advisory committee that's made up of academia, it's made up of the criminal justice community, so it's vetted through, and they're presented to us. If we want to be certified with their body, we have to follow these policies. So that's where some of those come from. As far as the rest, in 2019, we realized that we were really behind on our policies. It's a lot of work trying to keep up with all the legal changes that are getting passed through both federal, state, and it was just becoming overbearing. We did join a company called Lexipol. Lexipol was made by Gordon Graham, who is a co-founder of the company. He is a risk management expert. He is an attorney and he is a 33-year veteran with the California Highway Patrol. I have had the honor of meeting and speaking to him personally while I was at my CLE class down in Columbus. And his knowledge is very impressive. And what this company does is it provides us with constitutionally sound policies and procedures. They provide updates to us in a timely manner. So once the bills pass, I know within a couple weeks, usually my email fills up quickly, says, hey, we have updates. They can be something simple as the changes to an and, or it could be something strikingly that you shall not do this where before we were doing this. But that's what we're paying them for, is to sit there and make sure that what they're telling us to do is in compliance. They cover over 8,000 agencies nationwide, and they have over 320 employees on their staff whose job it is to keep us in compliance. So that being said, that's where all these policies come from that we have pointed out match up with the ordinance that's being presented. So open it to any questions that you guys may have.
Chief, would this information be available online to the public?
It is not online, but it is available through a records request.
The document that you've just prepared for us that shows the comparison of this legislation, can that be made available or be included with our minutes
Yes.
from this meeting?
Yes, for sure. Yep. However you would like that, we can make that available.
One of the questions that I know has surfaced for me on several occasions that I have not been able to address is, can you help us understand how city resources might be used in any particular case for supporting immigration-related issues?
One of the things that our current policy through Lexipol states is if they were to come in, we can offer basically a keep the peace and traffic control for them. And that is, if you see a large influx and there's a disturbance, naturally we're going to get called. We're going to go in and make sure that everyone's being treated fairly, that we understand what's going on, we understand who's who. And we're there to make sure that not only our citizens, but any guests in our city are being treated fairly, that we don't have a large scale riot breakout. Because our concern is about keeping the peace and making sure that.
Excuse me, Chief Miller, I think people are having trouble hearing you. Again, I think we are sorry about the
Is there?
poor.
I turned it up as far as it'll go.
And there's no microphone right there. Is that correct?
It's that square.
Up there,
Up
okay.
there.
We may have to have our, have you maybe slant a little bit to speak so that our guests can hear as well. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's fine.
So, sorry for that interruption.
I'll listen to you guys and then I'll turn this way.
Perfect.
So, Chief Miller or Mrs. Brining, I mean, you've put together a very elaborate document comparing Mr. Hanem's proposal with your policies. I'd like to hear from you where you feel there may be discrepancies or where there's possible gaps versus what he wrote compared to your policy.
Most of what we have is already covered in, and that's where you can see with the comparisons as we did them, because we did them by section. What we did is what was included in the ordinance, then we looked back at policy to see what in the policies fit there. So that's why in this document, you're gonna see like Sylvania policy 413.7 information sharing may be used more than once because it actually fits in with where it says no city officer, employee, or agent shall share with federal immigration authorities. It covers that policy as information sharing. No member of this department will prohibit or in any way restrict or any other member from doing any of the following regarding the citizenship or immigration status. It covers that. And it also cites the federal code that that's written from. And this is what Lexipol provides us. And then I don't know if you
I-
want to address that.
Go ahead. I don't know if there's anything you need to address, but I do think that it might be helpful, Chief, if you stay there, if we took a quick minute to let Mrs. Brining address any legal issues within the document, and then we can open up to the remaining questions of council members. Does that
Sure.
feel comfortable to you?
Yep, absolutely. So, in conjunction with, the chief, I looked at the handbook, sorry. In conjunction with the chief, she and I looked at the handbook, which was recently adopted by city council. And there is a provision in the handbook that covers, some of the issues that were in sections 3 of the proposed legislation. So the two main legal issues that I saw were the first one, section 14 in the proposed legislation, and I'm not sure if you all have had a chance, have looked at the proposed legislation. If not, I'll just summarize it briefly. This makes compliance with the ordinance a condition of employment for all city officers and employees. Violations may be ground for appropriate disciplinary action, up to and including termination. And it goes on a little bit from there. That is potentially problematic from Fair Labor Practices Act standpoint. The city cannot unilaterally change the conditions of employment. So that section is problematic, potentially. As we know, lawyers have made careers for decades arguing about things. So
Yeah, this lawyer disagrees with that.
yes, I would have expected that.
So they can hear each other.
Can you hear me better now? Is that better? Okay. The second essential legal issue.
Can you review the first one?
Sure. Okay. Essentially, did you all have a chance to look at the proposed legislation? Okay, so section 14 in the legislation, makes continued employment with the city, contingent on complying with the provisions of the ordinance. That the city has, several, bargaining units that are fall under our purview and negotiate with them on a 3-year basis. That could potentially be an issue with them as the city cannot unilaterally change the conditions of employment. Not saying they would raise that as an issue. My job is just simply to identify potential issues and make sure council's informed of things before they vote on it. So
And before we go any farther, this is an issue that can be addressed through collective bargaining in our next round of bargaining. It doesn't have to be implemented in any way that's inconsistent with the existing ordinances we have. And in fact, I'm very curious about how requiring our employees to comply with the law is a problem with their continued employment or with our contracts. So I think this is a non-issue for me. For those of you that don't know, I'm Doug Hainham. I've been practicing law for 46 years. I've been practicing immigration law for about 7 years. Worked with really quality, top immigration lawyers from Florida to here in Toledo. So this issue, I know Leslie raised it this morning. I don't think it's a problem. I'd be perfectly happy to defend that provision for the city of Sylvania if we need to. Go ahead, Leslie. You have another one.
yes, my second potential issue is that there is currently Ohio Revised Code Section 9.6 that was enacted under the Patriot Act. In consulting with other of my colleagues in the practices of mental affairs, and one of them just recently raised the issues raised by another elected official in the area. I discussed this proposed legislation with him, do believe the ordinance could create an issue, or it's just of, whether or not our city would be considered a sanctuary city. It's currently not defined in the Ohio Revised Code, there currently some pending bills, but revised code section 9.63 is what is currently being used.
And that provision says what?
It says that municipalities are required to, assist with, federal immigration. Not, if the city adopts an ordinance or a policy in opposition to that, we could potentially lose funding.
Of course, that, if that's what the provision says, it would, clearly, be in violation of the Supreme Court's ruling in Arizona versus United States, in which they held that, the court confirmed that immigration enforcement is primarily a federal function and limited how states can independently enforce federal immigration. Key
Mr.
thing here
Hayden,
is,
Mr.
there are
Hayden,
no, I'm gonna respond, please, Mary. The key thing for you all to know here is that federal law governs immigration. It is not an issue where the federal government consults with local governments in making those laws, and we are not required to assist the federal government in the enforcement of immigration laws. That has been confirmed, well, first of all, it's in the United States Constitution. It's also been confirmed by the United States Supreme Court. And to the extent that we overstep our enforcement powers, the cities can be held financially responsible and liable for missteps that we make. And this has happened in other states, and when that happens, the cost of those mistakes falls squarely on the city, and they get no help from the federal government in addressing that. So I know we're talking about policies. We haven't talked about the ordinance at all. I would love to have an opportunity to introduce the ordinance to the entire.
Mr. Hanem, what I would also share is that we are not in a court of law today. Today, we are all trying to understand.
I'm always in a court of law.
Of course
Mary.
you are, but we have other legal counsel that has made some recommendations to us. So when we're ready for that discussion, we can have it in a court of law if we need to. But for now, out of respect for.
No, I'm not gonna be quiet about misstatements of law. This memo that we got today states unequivocally, the language in the legislation could be interpreted as a violation of the Ohio Revised Code's prohibition on creating a sanctuary city. There is no provision in the Ohio Revised Code that prohibits creating a sanctuary city. That's wrong. This whole memo was drafted. That is not the law in the state of Ohio. And that's wrong. And that's you wanted to introduce. Excuse me. If you wanted to introduce, start this with this memorandum, and my point is, this memorandum on its face is inconsistent with the law in the state of Ohio.
So with that, I'm gonna invite council members to ask questions as they choose. They are certainly entitled to ask questions specific to the ordinance or specific to this memo. And I know there are some other questions here. Mr.
Chief,
Murphy.
there's a lot of talking about what law is or is not, and obviously that's important to this whole process, but I think what a lot of people here would like to, I think what a lot of people here would like to know is just common sense. If an ICE agent comes to you, just keep this basic as possible. ICE agent comes to you and says, I have somebody that I want to go after, okay? Walk us through the process that you go through right now. I was gonna say, based on our current policies that are.
Based on our current policies, we do not enforce the civil.
Just so everybody understands.
Because in our policy, it specifically says that we have no authority to enforce the civil violations, which is what Councilman Hanem was talking about. That's covered in our policies. What we will do is just the same as we would do with FBI, ATF, or anyone, is we would stand by a perimeter, make sure that everything's safe, make sure the traffic's flowing, anything that we can do that way. We have nothing to do with how they are handling their job. The same as if the FBI comes in and asks us for assistance, it's another law enforcement agency. We are going to assist outside of their investigation. We'll give them the ability to work, do whatever they need to do, and make sure that everything is safe in our city. That's it. And a
Just
lot of it's,
clarify what you mean let's just by keeping things safe.
we're just as our policy says, we're going to be there for traffic control, and we're going to be there for keep the peace to make sure that things don't get out of hand.
Right.
That's it.
Crowds.
We have nothing.
Order in the room, please.
Chief, can I,
We'd ask for order in the room. The process is, right now, the council members are asking questions. There will be an opportunity for questions from you. So we ask for you to be respectful and let us continue through our process. Thank you.
Chief, quick question on that, and thank you for your time preparing all this information, but, currently as it stands, if you were to provide some kind of, any kind of support that you're talking about, external support, does that currently fall to your discretion as to how much and where and when it would be needed?
Yes.
So it's not in the
It
policy?
falls to the officers. That's why it's intentionally, the officers are gonna have to, and we can go way in the weeds on this with, well, what if this,
Yeah.
what if that? Law enforcement is a very gray area.
Of course.
And that's what the policies are for, is to give you guidance to understand. And that's what those policies are saying to the officers. This is your guidance. It may be one thing that we show up at that then turns into something else that we have to deal with.
So the current policy is that the law enforcement professionals use your discretion to decide when to help and when to issue our units and do all that. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, we may have a discussion with them ahead of time and say, okay, it may just be a phone call to us saying, courtesy call, we're gonna be in your area doing this. Okay, we're aware, we're not doing anything.
And how often do any federal agencies come to us with anything like that? FBI, US Marshals, anything like that?
I'm gonna say maybe twice a year. I mean, it's so infrequent, we don't even chart it.
Sure.
And if we do offer mutual aid to another agency, it's recorded. The officers have to do a police report on it so that we can track who we're giving mutual aid to.
And how does that differ if they had if it was a criminal situation?
If it's a criminal situation, then we can help, because there's going to be warrants out. There's going to be judicial warrants out saying that this person comes into custody, and it would be handled no different than any other judicial warrant, through municipal court, through state court, through the county court.
So if it's if you stop somebody for speeding and they had a immigration issue, and they had nothing else going on, that would,
See, I think
generally speaking, be not something that you guys would.
we wouldn't deal with it unless there was something there that flagged us that required us to contact them.
Chief, in the policy, I'm seeing where it says unless the person's been charged with a federal crime or the detainer is accompanied by a warrant, an affidavit of probable cause or removal order. And I think my curiosity when I was looking at this was, do each of those, because I'm not as familiar with the
Right.
law, I'm not a lawyer, are each of those accompanied by judicial review of some sort? Court review, I've seen concerns about the general ICE detainer warrants and how that those are different because they don't have the same level of evidence, and
A lot of times it's hard for us to tell. What we get is the feedback we get when we run the person, it comes back, we'll get a notification, we have to call the department. And that's irregardless if it's FBI, if it's Sylvania Township, if it's Lucas County. A lot of times we got very basic information, we have to call them and say, hey, we've got this person, it showed up, it said call, I'm calling. and they'll say, do you have anything on the person? It's civil. Okay, fine, we deal with what we have to deal with and let them go. If they say it's criminal and we want them, then we're following their guides. This is their paperwork. We don't.
Gotcha. Just trying to clarify what those mean.
Itself violates the civil rights of the detainee, and that is actionable under federal law, and that's the problem.
Councilman Hanem, what I'm talking about with the detention is they're already being detained for a criminal investigation on our part. We've stopped them for an OVI, we've stopped them for a traffic offense. We've had them for disorderly conduct at a bar or something like that. We're investigating, we run the person, and this is the information that comes back to us. We have a duty to follow up to make sure what we're dealing with and who we're dealing with. That's how we're coming into contact with these people. We're just not walking through the city of Sylvania, randomly picking people out, asking what their immigration status is.
Yeah, in general, I don't have any problems with your policies. The point is, I do have some, including the records maintenance provision, and the pre-release contact to ICE. I think those are both problematic, and the pre-release, to the extent that you hold someone while you wait for ICE to show up, I think that's actionable and puts our coffers at risk. And nothing that you've said is prohibited by the ordinance that we've proposed. You can continue, we can adopt the ordinance, and you can continue to do all the things that you just told Mr. Murphy and Mr. Richardson that you wanted to do.
Other questions from members of council?
Sorry, can I follow up on that?
Sure.
I don't know if that statement's true. And I just want to double check that because
What statement's true?
So another thing that I noticed when I was going through here, which just as a general statement, I want to say that like overall the items that most caught my eye about your ordinance, I was very happy to see it already kind of a part of what our policies are in the city. But there was the question of those the affidavit of probable cause and removal order that I wanted to ask about. But then
Those
there's
are not
another-
judicial, by the way.
That was it.
Okay.
Sorry. What I want to ask about now is the information sharing section. And I think that's where there's a conflict between the ordinance and the current policy. And the policy is essentially you're going to share, right? You can't be restricted from sharing information. And I did a little research on it. I know that's a federal level law, but I also have seen that it's been argued against in some courts of being against the 10th Amendment for anti-commandeering. But those things, that's kind of out of my hands and my ability. But what I'm curious about is what are the benefits we get on a local level when we share information like that? And because I know that we have repeatedly in here, we want to make sure people feel safe coming to the police,
Correct.
right? And so I commend that in this part of our policy is that you're trying to make sure people don't feel afraid to come to you because you're not going to automatically try to know what their status is or call on them. But the section, and I guess it's the policy 413.7, and it's stated a couple times under section around the section 5 of that I know is coming to us from a federal level. I know that there are some courts that have argued against it. And so we have limited control on our level, I think, at the moment, but I'm just curious for my own information, what are some of the things that we gain by sharing information like that when we're also trying to make sure people are feeling safe coming to you?
Part of it from our side is when we do run into these notifications and they request us to notify them, we'll get a flag saying, call ICE on the printout, then we call them. We have more of an understanding of who's in our city and why they're in the city. And if it's a civil problem, hey, okay, that's between you and the feds. Has nothing to do with us. There's no reason for us. But if it comes back that they're actually wanted because they have a felony record or something, they have the criminal enforcement out there that they're looking for them because they want to remove them from the country because of past history or whatever it may be. When it escalates to that level, then we have the understanding of knowing what's here and the ability to, if it is going to be a problem for our community, we can help assist to make our community safer and remove any issues.
And Lindsay, I just want to be clear that the ordinance was drafted specifically to recognize that this doesn't prohibit information sharing that's already public, that's necessary for the investigation or prosecution of a criminal offense, or if it's required under USC 1373 or any other federal or state statute. But 1373 requires us to respond to requests from ICE to share information about that we already have. What it doesn't require us to do is to enforce federal immigration law. We're not required to honor ICE detainers. We're not required to collect information about an individual's immigration status. And we are not required to use local resources to assist ICE. And that's what, and so this, while this statute is of highly questionable constitutional validity, even as written, it doesn't require us to do any of those things. But it does, but if we make a mistake in doing any of those things, we can be held civilly liable for damages for the individual who is the victim of the error. And we're not immigration experts. So it is entirely possible that we could make a good faith mistake. But the good faith mistake, when you're using government authority to do it, can trigger liability under the Civil Rights Act.
We do have law enforcement experts, though. And my feeling is I trust our law enforcement experts to deal with these situations on a case-by-case level as you all see fit. That's my thought.
Would this ordinance shield us from that?
From the mistake? No.
Yes, then why can't we follow policy?
Because what we would do is we wouldn't be detaining people. We wouldn't be acting on non-judicial warrants. We wouldn't act on administrative warrants or findings of probable cause made by a third party. We just wouldn't be involved in that. So it would shield us from that liability because we wouldn't be doing the things that trigger the liability in the first place.
In other words, we'd be following the policy and not triggering.
No, the policy as written can trigger that liability. Let me read, and I'll read it specifically because
But what the chief said,
no, that's not what, I know what the chief said. What the policy says is, and this is Sylvania policy, police policy 413.7.1, immigration detainers. And it says, no individual should be held based solely on a federal immigration detainer under the rules, unless the person has been charged with a federal crime or the detainer is accompanied by a warrant. Does not say judicial warrant. It could be a administrative warrant, and a retention under administrative warrant is unconstitutional. An affidavit of probable cause, something not reviewed by a judge, but created by an immigration enforcement officer, or a removal order. Okay, and then it goes on to say that we will notify the federal authority issuing the detainer, should we decide to release them, we're gonna notify them prior to the release. Okay, and that can, if we're wrong, or even if we're right, even if there is a finding of probable cause made by ICE, our detention and notifying could trigger liability because those provisions are, according to Supreme Court, illegal, unconstitutional.
But any mistake by our police officers could trigger liability.
Absolutely.
Or any city employee.
Absolutely. That's why, yeah, but we don't want to be out there hunting to do things that we're not required to do, so we can make mistakes.
Which I don't believe our officers are doing that. I don't think our
Well,
officers are out there hunting.
I hope they're not either, but this makes clear that we won't be doing that.
Again, keeping in mind that this information that is prepared for our policies was prepared by Lexipol, who is a nationally recognized organization who does this consistently with authority and responsibility for many communities. I think that's a very important piece. And I know you did speak to the Lexipol credibility at one point, but could you just give us just a quick snapshot again of Lexipol and how they prepare these? Because it seems as though Mr. Hayna makes some valid points, but Lexipol is the expert in this area. So can you?
I believe from Lexipol's website, or some information that, because I actually called Lexipol to ask for some information. The last stats they gave me was in 2022, they had reviewed over 11,000 pieces of legislation for all of the 8,000 members. So that just gives you the volume of what they go over. And these are people that are well-versed in immigration, in human resources, in all the legal parts that would come into play with law enforcement.
So Chief, is there a way that Lexipol can take this on and review this and make sure that it is would stand up against the sorts of issues that Mr. Hanem has presented?
I don't know about that, but I can tell you I have not had any updates on it. So
What does that mean?
you have is they have not sent any updates on it saying that there's been any legal changes to change how they're viewing the policy.
Would you be willing to at least ask the
I can ask,
question? That would be
yes.
appreciated. Thank you.
Also, if I may add, Lexipol, these are very rough percentages, does 95% of the police departments in California. Lexipol does 95% of the police policies in the state of California, 80% in Arizona. So if you, 45% in Texas, so that's their southern border. We look at the northern border, right, because we're bordered by two countries. 65% of the Pennsylvania, 50% of Ohio, 40% of Michigan. So I would definitely say that they're well versed on both major borders of our country where you might have immigration concerns coming through.
So I want to share that our council meeting was scheduled to begin at 6:30. The mayor has kindly allowed us to extend this meeting to 7 o'clock. Our meeting will start late. If there are other critical questions from our council members, I'd like them to be asked, but we would like to have an opportunity for a few residents of the city of Sylvania to ask questions. I do anticipate the very real possibility that there may be a follow-up meeting to this to make sure we have an opportunity for additional input as needed. Ms. Stowe.
Thank you. Mr. Hanem, you are, I think, the most familiar with the ordinance since you wrote it. And we just got the information today about the policies. And as I mentioned before, I was very pleased to see how much similarity there was between the two. So I guess my question for you is, given this new information, what additional things what would be the and maybe the top priority that you're hoping to get from this ordinance that isn't already covered in our current policies?
Because policy is policy and an ordinance is an ordinance. Policy can be changed. We see policies change all the time for all kinds of reasons. And presently, we are seeing significant policy changes in the United States about the way we proceed with immigration enforcement. It's a much different world today than it was a year ago or 2 years ago. So policies can change. So what I like about the ordinance is that the ordinance is the law. It overrides the policy. And there are actually only a very few provisions in the policy that I would think would need to be modified if we adopted the ordinance, and frankly, which I think need to be changed anyway in light of what I now understand, how I understand the law. It's important to know, to remember what this ordinance is and isn't. The ordinance says that we're going to spend Sylvania resources on Sylvania things. We're going to fix roads. I got a call today, fix my road. Don't help enforce immigration law. We're going to fix roads, plow snow, pick up leaves. We're not going to get involved in immigration enforcement. The other thing it expressly states is that as a city, not just as a police force, but as a city, we won't discriminate against people based on their immigration status. So if our fire department's not going to check the immigration status of the residents of a home when they respond to a fire, when a man gets hit and is laying in the street, our police aren't going to check his immigration status before providing assistance. I think that seems to, if we have a kindergartner who shows up to take Safety City, we're not going to exclude her from participating in Safety City because her dad's here under a temporary protection status order. So the thing here is, this does not interfere with ICE's immigration. It just says we're not going to spend our money on it and our resources and our police force to do that, and we're not going to discriminate against people based on their immigration status. It is nothing more than that. A lot of the police policies are just like this. Okay, I don't know what goes on in our tax department with respect to immigration issues. I don't know if what we're doing there. But the point is, I'm not opposing immigration enforcement. What I'm opposing is us spending the limited resources that we have to live in a fixed budget.
Just so I'm making sure I'm understanding, when you're saying we wouldn't be spending local money on it, what I heard before was that the only circumstances we would spend local money on it would be for peacekeeping and for traffic.
Well, no, that's not what the policy says. The policy says we'll maintain records about immigration status. It also says that we will notify the federal agency when we have somebody in our who's detained, who has not subject to a judicial warrant, but subject to an immigration detainer or an affidavit of probable cause. Okay, those are things that are outside our scope.
So,
What?
sorry, I mean, is this gonna lead down a road where we have to codify our relationship and how we deal with the US Marshals and FBI and any other federal agency that comes along?
Well, that's not what I'm proposing.
Well, you're singling out one agency, and I'm worried that we have a policy that seems to align. And
Could I please call for some order here? We know this is a tough subject. please be respectful. Now, what I would say is, quiet in the room, order in the room, please. We will, we definitely have a tough issue in front of us. It's not something that's gonna get resolved this evening. We don't wanna misrepresent that we're gonna walk away from this meeting with a decision. But this is a time for us to listen to each other. Certainly, Mr. Hanem has strong feelings, as do other members of council. I was disappointed by some of the examples that Mr. Hanem suggested, is that a kindergartner would be left, or somebody would be left dead in the street because they were an immigrant. It hasn't happened in the city of Sylvania, and our police department, I think, of more highly than that. And I'm disappointed that our council members would not understand the integrity of our police
Let
department.
me just say this, I know. Makes it a law, not a policy that can be changed with a pencil and an eraser. And that's why it's valuable to do.
And council has the authority to change
Mary, let me
laws
finish.
as well.
It's valuable to put it on the books and make it clear, abundantly clear to everybody how we're gonna conduct our affairs.
So,
So-
Mrs. Westfall, if I could, I think it's important, kind of a hypothetical question, but for council members to consider, is there an issue in having an ordinance on this topic, or is there an issue in the way the ordinance is written? And I think the answer to that determines next steps.
I think that's a fair comment, and I think that at this moment in time, again, we're not gonna resolve this issue tonight, so I think that's something that every council member should take some time to think about and review. And I think we should open up to a few comments from members of the audience, if you're comfortable with that, Mr. Hanson.
Absolutely.
And then, from there, we will need to adjourn by 7 PM. So again, I anticipate that there will be a follow-up meeting to this, so I would not anticipate that we will walk away from this meeting and any action will be taken. But with that, I would like to open up to some comment. Clearly, everybody here cannot comment. We don't have enough time. Couple of things. Number one, if you're a resident of the city of Sylvania, we invite you to comment. If you are not a resident of the city of Sylvania, we ask that you observe. We will give 90 seconds per person for comment because there are so many of you. And we would ask that if you are standing up to say the same thing that 12 other people have said, please don't. You know, be respectful. If you've got the same comments to say that someone else has said, please don't take that precious time at this moment. With that being said, I'm gonna ask for the law director's assistance to set the times at 90 seconds as each person comes up. And what I would say is please begin by introducing yourself by name and by address. And with that, I would invite, you know, people who are interested in speaking to come forward. I've seen this woman in the red hair back here, but maybe step up to the front here. Or brownish hair, I'm sorry, the way the light was shining.
President of Sylvania, live at Berkwood.
Address, please.
Is 4965 Berkwood Court, 204, of course, Sylvania. I just want to clarify, I actually have some questions for you, which is number one, is immigration not civil, it's not criminal law. So that, therefore, our police department, we don't want them enforcing civil law. But isn't the point of this whole thing is to make our residents, especially our very strong Arab community, to feel better and feel safe within here? Because as you notice, they're not here. You know why? Because they're scared, you know, to make them feel better about the city that they live in. And isn't it just defining that the police force, their job is to make us safe as citizens, enforce the law, and, you know, take care of the citizens here. They're not here to take care of anybody else, whoever's within inside this community. So that's what I see them as doing, which is, you know, other law enforcement can come in here, they have nothing to do with them. And then on top of it, immigration, again, is a civil matter, although it's being treated criminally, it is a civil matter. It is not illegal to be undocumented. It's civil. It's a civil issue. So we need to really define that. These people are not illegal aliens, they're undocumented citizens of whatever country, but that is not a criminal matter. So what we're asking is for the police force to protect us and keep the peace. Such as when she said, if it starts getting out of, crowds start going, whatever, they need to go in and do that. But they're not, but
Not to be disrespectful, but our 90-second time rank, could you repeat your name one more time for me?
sure, Lisa Nolan,
Thank you, Lisa. Your comments were very much appreciated.
thank you.
I see this woman in the back with her hand raised. Again, Natalie, how are you? Good to see you.
Council members, my name is Natalie Morgan. I live at 5709 Phillips Avenue, right down the street. Lovely night to walk here. I'm using my teacher voice so people can hear me. I am a social studies teacher, and this is democracy at work. I'm loving this. Cannot wait to tell my students about it tomorrow. I'll make my points brief. There are certainly many in this room. We have very different opinions. Some of us are feeling strongly on one side, others on the other. But I think we're all here because we do have some common ground. And that is that we love our community. We all, I think, would agree that Sylvania is a great place to live, to raise a family. Part of that is because of our schools. Part of that is because of the services that we provide. So I would ask that council consider this ordinance and support it and pass it for two reasons. That upholds our great community. One of those reasons is fiscal. Sylvania taxpayers pay some of the highest taxes, and we are fatigued by this. However, we recognize that they provide us with the great services that we are accustomed to. But we are fatigued, we are tired. And furthermore, our schools are gonna come at us with another levy. To use our taxpayer dollars on anything that is not enriching and augmenting our community and our services is doing a disservice to our taxpayers, and it would make it difficult for them to pass our levy, which would hurt our schools, which would hurt our community. The second point, and this is my ending point, is a matter of trust. And I do believe in the integrity of our police officers. And I teach my daughter that police officers are helpers in our community. But not all mothers teach their children this. I would reflect upon how my lessons to my daughter would change if our police department breaks the trust that we have. Not by doing, but by association.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm John Hussman. I live at 6715 Sylvan Hills Drive in the city of Sylvania. For me, this is a simple question. Most of us know several of our country's larger cities have experienced horrible clashes between ICE officers and persons, protesting people. These have been fueled in significant part by law enforcement that has not cooperated with ICE as directed by their elected officials. My hope is that Sylvania will learn from the mistakes of others and not fall into that trap by limiting the ability of our police department to fully cooperate with all law enforcement agencies for the benefit of the citizens of the city of Toledo by rejecting this proposal. Thank you.
My name is Nancy Larson. I live at 4015 Newcastle Drive in Sylvania, and I want to urge you all, given the other gentleman's position, to pass this ordinance. This is an issue of cooperating with law enforcement when it is legal. If it's not constitutional, you are our first line of defense and safety. If we do not have you upholding the law, we do not have anything to protect us. We all want to be safe. We want our police officers to be safe. We want our citizens to be safe. And that only comes when people that are behaving criminally are not allowed to do that. Sometimes that's citizens and undocumented people. Mostly now, it is ICE. They are breaking the law. And when you have to decide to stand by and let them do something illegal or step in and save us, I want you to step in and save your citizens. Follow the law. Follow the Constitution. That's all we are asking. And you have to be our line of defense because the feds are out of control. If we cannot count on you, we have no privilege.
At here has been pointed at 3 times and then somebody stepped up, so let's hear what you've got to say. Thank you very much for your comments, Ms. Larson.
Dan Richardson, 5902 Garden Park. I just want to say when, you know, you threw out to make it seem like police officers are if this legislation isn't passed, police officers are gonna, you know, ask an immigration status, you know, at a crash or something like that. That's nonsense. And then if, you know, I keep hearing about resources needs to be spent on Sylvania. I mean, if we want to go down that road, I mean, I know resources have been spent on Councilman Hainum for some of his escapades that everyone here can probably have an idea what those escapades are. So, I mean, if we're talking about resource allocation, I just don't get it coming from you to talk about those, how we're gonna use those resources better. And I guess my last point is, the people we're talking about are not even citizens, so I don't know why. They're not. I'm sorry, they're not. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. We've got time for possibly 2 more comments if there's anybody. Yes, right here.
My name is Irene Rose, and I live at 6809 Maplewood Avenue. And I'm a retired SICU nurse, intensive care nurse. And I have to reiterate that for the exact reason the other gentleman said to not support this ordinance, really, I wish that you would, because to me, it sounds like it will make me safer. And I most certainly hope, because I already believe that our police, I would hope that somehow you would intervene if it was me standing there and somebody decided to tackle me because they didn't like how close I was standing to somebody. So I don't know. I think it's a good ordinance. If there are things that need to be fine-tuned or whatever, I think making it a law versus a policy, I think that's a good idea.
And this will be our last comment, the gentleman in the red. Oh, there's 2 people standing there. I'm so sorry. That was confusing. Couldn't see you there.
No, it's okay. Hi, my name is Katie Holmes Muscovin. I live at 8018 Milford Drive. We're fairly new to this community. We're going on 2 years here in Sylvania, and it's been a really great place and has been a welcoming community and seems very welcoming to all. And that's a really great place for us to be. And we have a 5-year-old that's about to start kindergarten, and I want her to be in a safe place that I know is safe for all of her friends. And I worry about the kids I see in her class that aren't the same color as her, and I know her parents are migrants. This worries me all the time, every day, with what I see going on in the world. And in particular, because there's a state bill, SB 172, that is being pushed through right now, which would allow ICE into public spaces, in particular hospitals and schools. And that terrifies me from what I've seen in other places. And I want to know that our place is safe, that I don't have to stand outside Highland Elementary and make sure ICE isn't getting near any single one of those kids, because I will if I have to. That's the world we're in right now, and I really hope we pass this to make sure that's not us. ICE is already here in Toledo, and I want to make sure they stay out of our spaces and keep Sylvania safe.
Thank you. I will let you speak. And because I called on two red shirts, I better let the other one come here. My apologies, but
Thank
this
you.
is our last one.
Ted Summers, 6107 Wakefield Drive. And I have a question for some questions for Mr. Richardson, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Simple yes, no questions, and I would like a yes or no answer. US Marshals, do they wear masks?
I don't know.
FBI, do they wear masks?
No.
US Marshals, are they required to carry badges and identify themselves? Yes or no?
I would think so.
Yes. FBI. These police officers right now are wearing badges and identification.
Sure.
ICE doesn't seem to have to do that, and that's why we are singling them out, sir. So don't try to play this game of equal playing field when they're not playing on the same field as the rest of the police officers in this country. Thank you.
I would like to thank each and every one of you. I know it's been hard to keep yourselves under control. There's so many things to be said, so many issues to be addressed. This is the beginning of the process, and I thank you for your professionalism. I thank you for your passion for our community. You walk the same sidewalks and streets that I walk. I have grown up here in Sylvania and consider living in Sylvania the biggest privilege of my life. Well, there's my husband sitting in the office, so sorry, honey. But I do want to thank you, and I would ask if there's a motion from our city council members to schedule request that we schedule at the city council meeting this evening, a committee of the whole meeting for Monday, March 2nd, 2026 at 5:30 here in the council chambers. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we would make a request during our city council meeting this evening to hold a committee of the whole meeting on Monday, March 2nd, 2026 at 5:30 to continue this discussion. We would invite, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. With that being said, I anticipate that motion will pass through council this evening, and I would invite all of you to come back. We will all have time to take into consideration the conversations that we've heard today, try and figure out how do we find the process to step forward, and again, hopefully have a little more time for some public comment. With that, I would ask if there's a motion to adjourn this committee of the whole meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This meeting stands adjourned at 7:02. Thank you very much again for your participation.
Sylvania City Council meeting for February 17th, 2026. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Hanem?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Stout?
Here.
Mrs. Westfall?
All 7 members of City Council are in attendance, therefore a quorum does exist. Welcome to the opportunity for the Pledge of Allegiance led this evening by Mr. Hanem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have additions to the agenda. After the committee of the whole meeting, there was a motion by council to consider a committee of the whole on March the 2nd, 2026. So I would like to add that consideration after the reports. We would call that agenda item 5A. Are there other items to add to the agenda, Mrs. Westfall?
Nothing, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Other members of council? Hearing none, Mr. Shaw.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Brining.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schroyer.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Smith.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
And I don't see Chief Miller, so I'm assuming that's nothing as well. And with that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve the council agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to the meeting minutes for the council meeting of February 2nd, 2026. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move approval of the Sylvania City Council meeting minutes from the meeting of February 2nd, 2026 as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes for the council meeting of February 2nd, 2026 as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, and the meeting minutes are approved. Moving on to the report for the committee of the whole meeting this evening. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we had a committee of the whole meeting this evening, February 17th, 2026 at 6 p.m. or to discuss ordinance number 37-2026, federal immigration enforcement. For the record, all members of City Council were present, as well as Mayor Fry, and from his administrative staff, Law Director Mrs. Brining, Chief of Police Danny Miller, Captain Hugh Baker, Service Director Joe Shaw, Finance Director Toby Schroyer, and Clerk of Council Mrs. Smith. Many community guests were here. We had a full house. I don't know how many people, but quite a crew. So I introduced the process and the detail for how the evening would go. That was followed by Chief Danny Miller sharing with us some information about the police policies and how they align with the legislation that had been presented. Also, she spoke about Lexapol, who actually had the organization that actually had prepared the policies, and shared with us that they're a national organization that's worked with many communities throughout the country, and they update that legislation, or I'm sorry, those policies on a regular basis to keep them fully in line with federal and state legislation. That was followed by Mrs. Brining speaking to some of the concerns from a legal standpoint. She was very careful to qualify that that certainly these were legal opinions that she had of her own volition, as well as other legal advice. Mr. Hanem did have some disagreement on that, and that was some issues of discussion. There were lots of issues around this topic tonight. Some of the primary issues were, what money is actually being spent on immigration, and our community seemed to express concern about that. Although Chief Miller certainly indicated that the funds that that she sees being spent on immigration are actually just safety strategies, that they are only doing things that are directing traffic and doing things that they would be doing anyway. So I think that's something probably needs some follow-up. Also, is there a need for an ordinance? Or is everybody against this ordinance, or is it just the way that it's written? There was more conversation around around next steps. And then we had about 6 people from the audience who did speak. Most of them just had a few questions or had a particular position either for or against, and they shared their views. We did have a motion from Mr. Hanson that was seconded by Mr. Murphy, requesting that we set a meeting at City Council this evening, a committee of the whole on March 2nd, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. And then this meeting was adjourned at 7:02.
Mrs. Westfall, would you like to make that motion?
I would do that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we schedule a committee of the whole meeting for further discussion of ordinance number 37, 2026 for Monday, March 2nd, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers.
Second. A motion and a second to have a committee of the whole starting at 5:30 p.m. ending at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, March 2nd here in council chambers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and the committee of the whole notice will be posted by the clerk. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 6, the Downtown Transportation Improvement Phase 1 Change Order number 2. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of council. 2 action items on our downtown transportation work. Agenda item 6 is for phase 1. This is our second change order on the project. Most of this is to cover some overruns as well as balance that out with some underruns. So we'll have one more change order to do to button the project up later this spring. But this one, embedded with it, it only is for $162.75, but so that you know, inside this, there's $145,000 moving around inside of it, both to the plus to the minus. So a ton of activity going on here with pay items. It just reflects out that it's a pretty minimal amount. This also allows us to pay our contractor to do some different pay items that weren't in the job and balance this out. But like I said, we'll be back in the spring with a final change order. But the items are listed there with mainly hard surfaces where we were either adding or taking away some 4-inch or 5-inch concrete walk and those things. But I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on change order number 2.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 38, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 38, 2026. I'll read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to approve change order number 2 to this city's agreement with Helms & Sons Excavating, Inc. for the Downtown Transportation Improvements Phase 1 project to adjust for several project overruns and underruns, increasing the contract amount by $162.75. Appropriating funds therefore, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve.
I have one comment.
Yeah, Mr.
Joe,
Haynes.
if you ever zero it out, do you have to come back with a change order?
But you know what? I think I would though, right? You guys need to see what the ending product looks like. I can with confidence tell you I will be back in the spring and this will come in under the original bid amount for a downtown project, which has not happened in my time, and I'm gonna be very proud to say that. So.
Appreciate your work.
Other questions or comments for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 38, 2026. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 38, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 7, Downtown Transportation Phase 2. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for construction management services. We had requested at the December 15 meeting prior to the Christmas holiday to request letters of interest from qualified consultants who can provide construction management services for multi-million-dollar downtown projects. We did receive just one LOI, again from American Structure Point, who provided us exceptional services in the Phase 1 project. We went through scope and fee negotiations with them and their proposals in the amount of $244,764 to complete the scope of work. Their Phase 1 proposal was in the 4s. We do anticipate less services being required for Phase 2. It's not still a difficult project, but we don't have walls and buildings right on top of our right-of-way line, so a lot easier to manage in terms of grades or if different things come up. So a little bit less of a fee here. Of course, they provided us with a litany of services on both LPA and local projects, and would certainly recommend the award to American Structure Point in the amount of $244,764. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 39, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 39, 2026. I will read by title only. Accepting the proposal of American Structure Point, Inc. to provide construction management services for downtown transportation improvements Phase 2 project, appropriating funds therefore in an amount not to exceed $244,764. I make a motion for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 39, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 39, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 8. Resurfacing project, change order number 2, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for our joint agency project that we have with the Lucas County Engineers Office. Our piece of this dealt with Silica Drive, Summit Street, and Erie Street, kind of more in our central areas of town. Henry W. Bergman was our contractor on that work. We put them into a bind last year in terms of schedules, trying to do resurfacing work on Silica when your downtown one street over is ripped up, for pretty much most of the summer. But we put them through the grinder. They did come through and complete the project before asphalt plants had shut down last year, which was good. We also had really good pavements, or better pavements than we were thinking underneath. We didn't have to spend as much money on base repair. This was a savings of about $48,000 to the project, which is great. So this is our second change order. This is our final one on the project, which will allow us to recover our costs with the Lucas County Engineer in terms of OPWC funds. So this one will reduce the contract amount from $517,006 to $444,719.42. A total decrease of $72,286.58. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
That $167 was exciting.
I will take these, so.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we have ordinance 40, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 40, 2026. I will read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to approve change order number 2, final to this city's agreement with Henry W. Bergman, Inc. for the Silica Drive, Summit Street, Erie Street resurfacing project, decreasing the contract amount by $72,286.58. And I move for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 40, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 40, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 9, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is in regard to our Alexis Road and Stewart Road water line replacement project. This particular piece in front of you is on the Stewart Road side of it, north of Alexis Road, almost to Carter, to kind of give you some geographic sense on where this is. One of the key pieces of water line work that we're doing here is providing redundancy connection to Regency Hospital so they can be fed from 2 different directions. Currently, they are fed in a single way from Alexis Road. If there's an issue that happens with Alexis Road and we have to, for whatever reason, shut that main off, the hospital is left holding the bag without water. So one of the big goals of this was to provide a redundant connection from Stewart to Regency Hospital. But in order to do that, we had to acquire an easement to get from Stewart to the campus where the hospital was at. Mr. Ross Ramsdell approached us in December last year, and he's having some well issues at his particular place and was asking about water just at the same time as we had included this project in our budget. We met with him after the beginning part of the year, discussed our goals, which kind of aligned with his too, and he is granting us a water line easement, which will take the main through his southern boundary of his property over to Regency Hospital, where once we're on hospital site, we can make the appropriate connection to the existing mains that are there, and that gives us our feed all of the way. So in return of that, Mr. Ramsdell was just asking to waive a $2,500 tapping fee for a 1-inch domestic service that would go to his property when the water line has been installed. So a good deal all the way around. We get our easement, he gets a pretty good deal on the tap, and we go from there. Be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Shaw. Sorry, No, Mr. McKay, go ahead.
The coincidental is what we're calling this.
Sometimes these things happen. I've had these happen a couple times, and Eric came in and said, this guy got a hold of us about water. And I said, well, he is the strategic location to get an easement from. So we brought him in within a week and had conversations with him, and he's supportive of it. He's got a lot of trees on his lot. So he said, I don't want to lose all of my trees. And I said, we can install it trenchlessly. We can do the directionally drill through the bottom half of his property and just take trees out, which are needed for the excavation pits for that. And he was more than accommodating. So,
was there any request made by the hospital for us to provide the secondary line?
no, this is a service director issue that needs to be addressed. So
Yeah,
this is me. This is me.
Great timing. So will there be a tap fee to the hospital?
No, because they're already connected. So this is all just, they may ask us, if their legal counsel asks us to get like a work agreement so that we allow ourselves, our contractors, to be on property to make those connections. Great, we've already met with their administrative staff. They're very supportive of it. They actually didn't acknowledge or know that they were fed from one direction, so they were appreciative of the reach out. And we'll go forward from there, so.
Great catch.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 41, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 41-2026, accepting an easement from Marcia L. Saki and Ross Ramsdell for the construction and maintenance of a public water main along a portion of the property at 5820 Stewart Road, Sylvania, Ohio, dedicating the easement for public purposes. I move for passage of ordinance number 41-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 41, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 41, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 10, Parks and Forestry equipment purchase. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This came from our Parks and Forestry Department in our budgeting process last year. They were looking for a replacement mower for what is used at Ravine Cemetery to cut those grounds over there. And they have done their homework and research and came to us with a new grasshopper mower. This would be from Buck and Nobby, just over the line in Ottawa Lake, Michigan. They do help us quite a bit with our equipment purchasing needs. This one's great for cemetery work because it actually has a rear discharge, so to keep all of the grass clippings off the stone and keep it tidy. This particular mower handles that for us and is a great fit for that. The existing mower that we have has a bag attachment to it, but we do a fair amount of maintenance on city grounds, whether that be here or courts, City Hall, and we'll try to keep that mower going for as long as we possibly can with the rear bagger attachment to it. So this mower is $20,382.95. This was included in our 26 budget, and the account number for the purchase is listed there. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 42, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 42, 2026, accepting the proposal of Buck and Nobby Equipment Company Incorporated for the furnishing of one new Grasshopper 725 DT lawnmower for the Department of Public Services in the amount of $20,382.95. I would like to introduce this or declare this as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 42, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 42, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Just as a side comment, you ever notice 725 DT lawnmower? It's just one of those things that doesn't really roll off your tongue,
No.
but it is what it is. Yeah. It's not great marketing, but it seems to work for them.
I kid Pam all the time. Her cars all have letters and numbers and no names.
There you go.
SRX, an XT5.
Absolutely. Moving on to agenda item number 11, mini excavator and trailer purchase. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one comes from our Streets Department, and to your point, this is a wonderful Yanmar SV100-7 mini X piece of equipment, so a marketing genius there as well. But this is a new piece of equipment to our fleet. I was embarrassed to admit, I didn't realize we had one of these in our fleet. Our sewer department has one, and it is the go-to thing that we have for tight excavations. What it allows, basically the best thing that it does is it allows you to spin around 360 degrees, so you can have a tight operation for a water main breaker in one traveled lane. Our current one is a backhoe that has a rear attachment to it that only gives you about that much room, so you can dig, move, and dump, and then you've got another operation to move it. So streets department was a little hesitant for what they do. They deal with some heavy things on how this would work, but they have played with the sewers department one over a number of years. They picked up catch basins and the different things they do with it, and it provides the power that they need to do it, but also the better navigation to use the piece of equipment for stuff that they do. So they would like to add this to our fleet. This would also come with a Felling FT 40-2 paver model trailer, which would replace our largest trailer that we have in the fleet. Anytime we have our biggest equipment that we haul around town, our trailer from 1997 is worn and tired, and the trailer that would go with this piece of equipment would replace that. We'd move that item to Gov Deals. So the cost of the Mini X is $153,250, and the trailer is $39,696.40. I'd be happy to answer any questions. This was, oh, by the way, this was incorporated in our 26 budget, so be happy to answer any questions.
I'm sure the Felling FT 40-2 will last us for a very long period of time. Any questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance number 43, 2026 for consideration. Ms. Stow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to read ordinance number 43-2026 and read by title only. Accepting the proposal of Buck and Nobby Equipment Company Incorporated for the furnishing of one new Yanmar SV 100-7 mini excavator for the Department of Public Service, Division of Streets, in the amount of $153,250, appropriating funds therefore. I move for passage of ordinance number 43-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 43, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 43, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item ordinance number 44, 2026, Ms. Stow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to read ordinance number 44-2026 and read by title only. Accepting the proposal of Buck and Nobby Equipment Company Incorporated for the furnishing of one new Felling FT 40-2 trailer for the Department of Public Service, Division of Streets, in the amount of $39,696.40, appropriating funds therefore. I move for passage of ordinance number 44-2026 as an emergency measure.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 44, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 44, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 12. Captain Hubaker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you having me in today. We have a little bit proposed change to ordinance 771.11, our towing and storage fees. What brings us to council's agenda today is I recently met with our tow company operators to find out how our relationship is. And I found out that the fees that our ordinance restricted fees to $129 per tow. They were complaining that it was low compared with area ordinances, so I did a little research and found out it was in fact much lower than area ordinances. So if you'll notice in your packet, $165 for a standard tow is what tow operators in Toledo are receiving. $330 for a tow resulting from a traffic crash. That's standard for what the area is allowing them to charge. Oil dry, etc. Storage is $35 a day. These are all pretty standard with what area cities are allowing their towing companies to charge.
Any questions for Captain Hubaker? Mr. Mayor. Mr. Hanson.
Going by memory, I believe there was an ordinance about a year ago not regarding fees, but towing companies themselves, is that correct?
I remember something was brought to council, but I don't remember the specifics of what it was. I just recently fell under my purview, so, yeah, I don't remember.
I can speak to that. Yes, we did have to update our tow policies because we were still working off the 1980s. So it was trying to get it, instead of being a policy, we were trying to put it on the ordinance. So it was out there and it was discoverable because it wasn't discoverable in my file cabinet. And when we started with a base number because we were so outdated. We were doing the best we could with the intent of going back after the program was running for a while and see how it was going. And Captain Hubaker has taken the point as our liaison with tow companies so that he can manage them and they have a point person to go to.
Thank you.
Other questions for Captain Hubaker or the chief? Hearing none, we have ordinance 45, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 45-2026, and I'll read by title only, amending the codified ordinances of Sylvania 1979 as amended by amending section 771.03, general provisions, and section 771.11, tow and storage fees. I move passage of ordinance number 45-2026 as an emergency measure.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 45, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 45, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 13, we have ordinance number 46 for consideration. Ms. Brining.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In conjunction with the ordinance that was just passed, this is just an amendment to chapter 1701, which, if you all recall, was the comprehensive rate and fee schedule that you all adopted. So we just are amending that to include the towing fees as well.
Makes it much simpler to
Look in one place.
to look in one place for average citizens. Other questions for Ms. Brining? If not, we have ordinance 46 for 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 46-2026, and I'll read by title only, amending the codified ordinances of Sylvania 1979 as amended by amending Part 17, rate and fee schedule. I move passage of ordinance number 46-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 46, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 46, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 14, Mr. Shaw.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Facilities master planning study, letter of interest is what's in front of you. So this building, as well as our maintenance garage, was kind of the catalyst for wanting to review city-owned buildings and facilities and get a temperature check. What kind of health are we in? This building is from 1960. The maintenance garage is from 1982. You know, schools last 45, 50 years, and we're on year 70, 80 with this one, and you know, a little short of that. But we do a really good job with our facilities. We take care of them, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't evaluate where we sit, where the locations are we currently sit, and to, of course, give you guys an overall metric of what should happen in the future. So what we're suggesting is a two-pronged process here. We've got several sites that we want to evaluate, here being one. We mentioned the maintenance garage down on Haroon Road is number 2. We also want to look at our municipal court building and our administration building side by side with that. And we also want to look at our parks and forestry building out west. Those are the 5 city locations that when we're finished, we'll have a qualitative and quantitative assessment. How are our HVAC systems? What needs to be done? How's the roof? Basically, my goal is to have something that looks like a report card. Your HVAC system is a D. Your roof is an A, something like that, where we get an overall metric of how our facilities look. And with that, that'll help us plan. Do we want to be in this location long-term? Do we want to take this operation and move it somewhere else around town? And part 2 of that process, we'll look at some of those different sites and say, okay, where can some of these different facilities go? Where should we be long-term? So we're going to look at that. One site that is not a city site is our Sylvania Township Hall and road maintenance off of Holland, Sylvania. Sylvania Township is obviously building a new facility off of Silica Road for their long-term needs for their road maintenance. The long-term needs of that building are yet to be determined, but it's very central location in the city, and I think we should at least evaluate the site, rule it in or out as a potential place for future city operations. So that's the goal of the study. I'm kind of excited to do this. Haven't really been a part of a facilities master plan from a building perspective before, but excited to see where this kind of leads, and that'll help us shape what Sylvania government places are going to look like for the next 50 years. So with that, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Shaw, yeah, it says you want to start this work by April of 2026. When would you project it to be completed?
I think this was going to take somewhere between 8 months to 12 months to complete.
Okay.
And having some preliminary discussions with folks that are really good at this stuff.
And Mr. Shaw, would you said they're gonna look at obviously the structural as far as HVAC, et cetera, but would it also look at how well that building could be expanded? Of course.
And space utilization is big. Like, for example, I'm gonna take City Hall. Third floor doesn't occupied by anything, right? We have first and second floors, but the third floor is unfinished. Is there a department that could go there? Could we spend a little bit of resources and finish the third floor? What department would work well there? I mean, those are the things that these guys will look at in terms of space and say, okay, this would be a great spot for that. You know, let's work on finishing that.
Connecting buildings.
Or connecting
whatever.
buildings, exactly. Yep.
So along those same lines, and this may be the same question, but you know, I think you have 6 buildings identified here. So they're looking at the health of each building, but would they also say, you don't need 6, you could consolidate to 5, or maybe you need 8 smaller buildings instead of 6 larger ones?
Yeah, I have
Is
no
that part of the?
Yep, I have no preconceived notions. Those guys are excellent at space utilization. They also know site size. They say, hey, that's a 5-acre tract of land. This is perfect size for a municipal operation that can house these things. I mean, those are the things that we're kind of looking for. The goal at the end of it would be like, okay, here's our roadmap. We've determined maybe perhaps this building's obsolete. We need to find a new home. Where is that going to be? Is it just across the railroad tracks? Is it down at Sylvania Township? Is it somewhere else, in town? Those types of things.
And I'll just make a comment. You'll recall 5 or 6 years ago that we entered into a significant process on a downtown master plan. And part of that downtown master plan was discussing opportunities to expand the footprint of the commercial availability, and this was one of the facilities that was recognized. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right decision, but it is one of the things that was pointed out. So this kind of grows out of that thought process.
Yep.
This is kind of the next natural conversation.
This will be a really heavily involved council piece. Obviously, we'll work on selecting the consultant, and we'll get kind of rolling. But I'd like to come back with some periodic updates on our progress and how things are coming, so that you guys are well versed on where this is going.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have the Facilities Master Plan Study Letter of Interest requests. Ms. Dow.
As an architect, I can say I also am excited by master plan studies, and I think it's very forward-thinking of the administration to be looking ahead like this. So I move to approve the service director's letter requesting authorization to begin letters of interest solicitation for a facilities master planning study at several locations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the administration to pursue letters of interest requests regarding a facilities master plan study for the city of Sylvania. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and the administration is permitted to move forward with that. Thank you. Looking forward to getting that moving forward. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 15, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one's a little more in the lane that we usually operate in with water line projects. This is a letter of interest request and solicitation for 3 roadways in kind of our central area of town. This is Central Park, Garden Park, and Rosewood Place. We're interested in replacing all of the water mains on those roadways. This is some of our oldest infrastructure that we currently have, especially on Garden Park. We're really good at records here, and I know if I do not have a print for something prior to the 1940s or 50s, I know it's old. So that would apply to Garden Park. So we have looped that in my time here in the last 13 years. We've ran a line from the end of Garden Park through Veterans Memorial Field and tied that together at Eldon. This would actually replace from that point where we did that in 2013 or 14 and extend the replacement all the way down to Erie Street. And this also takes care of Central Park as well. And a small side street about midway up on both of those is Rosewood Place. So this would be our letter of interest request to select consultants. Goal would be to have somebody ready to do work in May with a contract. And this project is currently in our 5-year program scheduled for 2028. So we do have some time. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
I should know the answer to this, but I'm sorry, I don't. Will this have any impact on Veterans Memorial Field and any of the flooding that's going on in there?
It will not. We will stay clear south of all of that.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have potential letter of interest for water line improvement projects. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to request letters of interest for design engineering services for the Central Park, Garden Park, and Rosewood Place Waterline Improvement Project.
Second.
So a motion and a second to approve the administration's asking for letters of interest regarding certain waterline project improvements per Mr. Shaw's February 17th memo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and the administration will move forward with the LOI process on that project. Moving on to agenda item number 16, we have website redesign for consideration. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this one probably excites many on council to have our website relooked at. It's hard to believe, I couldn't believe when I was going back through and looking at our records when the current rendition was done. It was in 15, so we're on year 12 of what we have, which it seems like in the technological world sometimes is a stone age ago. But I've heard in my time here, at least as service director, and then maybe towards the end of being deputy director, complaints about the website. Not real thrilled with the function of it, the form of it, the inaccessibility for residents to download or upload a form really quick, having resources available. So this would be a retool to do that so that it not only works well on Mrs. Stow's device, but on a phone as well as your computer, so that we have a website that I think all of us can stand behind and be proud and say, hey, just go right here. It's easy to find. We currently don't have that. So this would be a process to start that. We're requesting letters of interest from qualified web-based consultants that would help us with the new city website. This was in our budget. The goal would be to hopefully have someone ready to initiate work in the second quarter of 2026. And it sounds like these go a lot quicker than I'm envisioning, but I'm going to say somewhere between probably 8 to 12 months is realistic for that, but could be even quicker than that too from what I'm hearing. So happy to answer your questions.
Depends on who you use.
Right.
Depends on
What you want to do. There you go. Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Shaw, are we under like state law or even our own ordinances, a higher level of security that we need to maintain on our website for any particular reason, being a government?
That may be a little out of my wheelhouse. Maybe Mr. McCann might be able to add something to that.
We don't follow a law, we follow a process that has been established by our IT department for that security or said security. So we're finding the best robust process to secure our both website and any data of the city.
Will, because we'll be able to pay bills through this.
This is the goal,
Yes.
absolutely, yes.
That was, I guess, the biggest thing as far as for sending out the.
The biggest complaint I've heard is
Ease of use.
Ease of use. It's cumbersome. You have to go 7 clicks to get to what you want. Let's be better than that.
I was just thinking from a security standpoint, you get that many people sending their bills in.
Yeah.
And, how you filter that.
This is the electronic front door to our community.
Yeah.
Yes.
It needs to reflect our community appropriately in that regard. Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have the potential letter of interest request for the website redesign. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to authorize administration for a letter of interest for the City of Sylvania website redesign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to permit the administration to secure letters of interest for a website, potential website redesign. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and the letter of interest request will be issued by the administration. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 17. We have self-propelled leaf vacuum for parks and forestry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our Gov Deals request. We're pulling in 3 departments in here. My favorite one on this list is our Streets Department, 1985, 120 gallon air compressor. Yeah, 1985. I think that's we had one from the 70s, I think, last year. But this one just died. It's enormous. It's huge. Somebody who's pretty crafty with air compressors may find a use for it. But we have a new one down at our shop. And then the self-propelled leaf vacuum, it looks not great, but it may be for someone to refurbish and do something with as well. But again, all items that have served their purpose in our departments and ready to be posted to Gov Deals.
1985 doesn't know us anything. Any questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have obsolete equipment for consideration to be posted on Gov Deals. Mr. Murphy.
Sure, I make a motion to authorize posting these 3 items, the self-propelled leaf vacuum, the Speeder 120 gallon air compressor, and the water transfer pump posted to Gov Deals.
Second.
A motion and a second to authorize the administration to post various items per Mr. Shaw's February 17th memo to the from the administrative staff. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and they'll be posted on Gov Deals. Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item number 18. Ordinance number 47, 2026 for consideration. Ms. Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is to authorize the entering into of agreements with various providers for help, all of our insurances, including our property insurance, and also we have a few very minuscule software agreements, but we're just trying to clean that up, get our processes all in line with to make sure we're all following them and making sure everything is all of our I's are dotted and T's crossed. So this is just, the agreements are all on file with Mrs. Smith. Didn't want to provide you all. It took several times of trying to get them sent to us, so to send them all to you all would have been it would be pretty significant. But if you'd like any of them, please just reach out to me and I'll be happy to get them to you.
And you've reviewed them. That's
Yes,
the point.
yes, I've reviewed them.
Questions for Ms. Browning? Hearing none, we have ordinance 47, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 47-2026 and read by title only, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into agreements with various providers for health, life, dental, property, and prescription drug insurance and software subscription agreements, ratifying the director of finance's signatures to the agreements. I move passage of ordinance number 47-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 47, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 47, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 19. I understand, Ms. Stow, you would like to push back from the table.
Yes,
Is that
for
correct?
potential conflict of interest.
So we have a request from Councilwoman Stow to push back from the table regarding a potential conflict of interest on agenda item number 19, which is the SUPs under consideration. Do I have a motion to allow Ms. Stow to do so?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to allow Ms. Stow to push back from the table for a potential conflict of interest. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Now moving on to agenda item 19, Ms. Stow is pushed back from the table. Mr. Hanem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we refer what am I doing here?
Set the public hearing.
We're setting a public.
We have a recommendation back, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was setting the date. Anyway, I move that we, set a hearing for applications SUP 1-2026 and SUP 2-2026. And that we set that public hearing on both applications on April 6th, 2026. Can we do that at 6 o'clock?
Why not?
6 o'clock. Actually, I was checking to make sure I didn't have a baseball game.
That's April 6th, Mr. Hanem?
Yeah, well, I don't have a baseball game.
Okay, fair enough. We have a motion for Mr. Hanem.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to set a public hearing for two separate, technically, correct?
Yes.
Two separate public hearings, both set for 6 p.m. on Monday, April the 6th, here in council chambers at 6 p.m. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and the clerk will post the notice for the 30-day notice for public hearings. Thank you very much. Let the record reflect that Ms. Stow has returned from the, pushing back from the table. We have potential Ohio Division of Liquor Control request. Chief Miller, do you have any concerns about this particular transfer?
No, Mr. Mayor, we did receive the information, we did check our records, and there was no concerns.
So the request is that we do not ask for a public hearing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions from members of council? Mr. McCann, you look consternated.
Let's get it out. Chief?
Yes.
Is this a standard? I've seen a lot of these requests before, but this says wine and mixed beer beverages for on-premise or off-premise in original seal container. That means for sale as a store. This is a bar. So is that a standard practice?
That's up to liquor control, what they're allowed to, their type of permit that they're getting.
And that's what
We
they're
saw a lot of
conveying.
it during COVID, or I believe there's another one, some restaurants are allowed to sell them sealed out the door. That might be that type of,
Not that we could change that or edit that, but do we have other? Because this is from Toledo, it's a Toledo liquor license that's transferred here. Do we have any other liquor license in the city of Sylvania that reflects this?
that,
I think we do.
I'm sure.
I've heard stories that you can go into like Chow and buy a bottle of wine and leave with it.
Okay.
and I think, Tony.
Hypothetical.
Inside the
And I believe I've seen people at Inside the Five by cans before.
But Mr. McCann, these are all just rumors.
Yes.
I know you can do it at Mancy's Italian, that's in the township.
I guess I don't practice.
Was that a test?
You're a non-premise,
wanted
you're a
to see
non-premise
who-
kind of guy.
Thank you.
Other questions for the chief? Hearing none, we have the request to not to the motion not to request a public hearing regarding this potential liquor transfer to the city of Sylvania. Mr. McCann.
Figures.
You asked.
I make a motion not to refer this matter SUP number 1, 2026.
No, this is,
Sorry.
next thing. This is 20.
This is the liquor.
This is, again, make a motion not to refer this Division of Liquor Controls of the D5 spirituous liquor for on-off premises consumption, beer, wine, and mixed beverages for on-premise or off-premise in original seal container for Referee Sylvania LLC at 7625 West Sylvania.
Second.
Motion and a second to not request a public hearing, notify the Department of Commerce, Division of Liquor Control, not to request a public hearing regarding the transfer of a D5 liquor permit from LJ Court LLC to the referee Sylvania LLC. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 21. Are there any items, any committee reports that need to be made?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to just make a quick comment if I could. I'm not sure if this is the right spot.
Absolutely.
But when I gave my report on our public, on our committee of the whole meeting, I neglected to extend my sincere appreciation to you for extending the meeting time for that into our city council meeting and allowing that meeting to go to 7 p.m. So I want to thank you for that. And I
Happy to
think
do it.
that was served our community
I
well.
think it's important to hear from our constituents always. So
Thank you.
thank you for that. Other committee reports? Hearing none, do we have any committee referrals? Hearing none, just wanted to point out before we consider adjournment to the architectural, Board of Architectural Review our meeting minutes and the Municipal Planning Commission meeting minutes from February 11th, which was last Wednesday. Any questions about those? Hearing none, are there any items that need to still come before council? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second to adjourn Sylvania City Council February 17th meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and this council is adjourned until our next meeting on Monday, March the 2nd, here in council chambers at